Hey, welcome to Taking It Down. It's the TV podcast from the Alabama Take. On this week's episode, we're going to discuss two shows from Apple TV. Cape Fear, which debuted on the service this week, and to conclude, we'll talk about episode 8 of the popular Widow's Bay. And Widow's Bay will be the only of the two shows we'll bring up in spoilers. So stick around for all of it if you've seen episode 8 of Widow's Bay, or just stick around for non-spoilers and come back when you've caught up. Let's get into it. No Donovan this week. We'll get Adam here, though.
Alabama Take projection.
Yes, here with me, it's Adam Morrow. No Donovan this week. He had prior obligations. Adam's fresh off of booking dates with his duo Sister Ray Davies. And they'll be opening for Luna in late September and October. And I encourage our listeners to go see Luna's website, grab some tickets before they're gone. I imagine they'll go quickly.
Pretty wild.
It is wild and good for you. You know, we advertised we talked about your shows over in the UK when you were off the podcast, playing shows there. So we encourage listeners to go see us when we're out and about. And I think that's really cool. I'm a big fan of Luna since 2005 or so.
I'm a huge Luna and Dean Wareham fan, so this is very cool for us.
Yes, I like his solo work. I got a couple of those records. Good stuff. Go see Adam. You can see him in person. You can say hi to him. But for TV, that's why we're here. This week, Apple TV released its first 2 episodes of their version of the classic Cape Fear. I'm going to keep this in non-spoilers only, and maybe next week we can unpack more. It's been made into 2 movies of the same name. One in 1962, the other in 1991. This one 30 years later, kind of 30-year streaks. Both of those based off the novel The Executioners. This remake from Apple TV stars Javier Bardem, Amy Adams, and Patrick Wilson with the same basic premise, man fresh out of jail. And I won't say more in case you've never seen any of them and you want to dive into this new one blindly. I think a perfect non-spoiler question or two is that did you see anything here that warranted a new version?
Well, I haven't seen it, so...
Are you familiar with the older works or the book at all?
And you made me feel better when you said it's been since the early 90s, since one of these has come out, because I thought it may have been something that had been remade more times, because it is one of those titles that just kind of looms in the social consciousness. You know what I mean?
Part of the culture a little.
Yeah.
Well, the last one was Scorsese and had Robert De Niro and Nick Nolte, Jessica Lange, and Juliette Lewis in a pretty star-making role for her.
I haven't seen it. You're calling out my blind spots here.
Scorsese is not a blind spot for you, though, in general. That's why I figured you might have seen it.
I know. That makes it even worse. Your blind spot and your bright spot is always embarrassing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It can be. I kept racking my brain over what's the point of redoing this one again.
But this is a broader question, and it varies story to story, genre to genre, but 35 years. Did you say 91 is when it...
62 and then 91, so about 30 in between each.
I think that's fair game for a...
I think it's so too, but it's wild to think that Cape Fear from 91, it was from 91. It feels like it was from like 01.
Oh, okay.
To me.
But still, a whole new generation of acting talent to work with, new cinematography approaches, new everything. Why not give it a go?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I've seen those first 2, and that first one, as Dr. Phil Beidler said about the Rolling Stones, is a motherfucker. I say, watch it. It's eye-opening. The second one, the pace is a little slower. They try a couple of things, maybe one time too many. I still liked it. I still kind of like where it's going. I'm just baffled by remakes often. Sometimes I see why, sometimes I don't. I mean, that first one had Robert Mitchum and Gregory Peck in it and is noted as being close to perfect. But then Scorsese did it, and that one is not perfect, but it's good. I mean, Robert De Niro is putting on a show. That was before he kind of got bogged down into mediocre roles. So interesting stuff. Cape Fear. I'd like to cover it. We'll see how we do with our other things. The other show we're talking about, which we will talk about in spoilers, is the 8th episode of Widow's Bay. It's also an Apple TV show. Comedy horror series with Matthew Reese as the mayor of a New England island town that has some scaries. Before I talk about the 8th episode in depth, or with no spoilers, I should say, I wanted to hear your estimation on just how close this island is to Ludlow College. Is the finale just going to be Rooster stopping by on his way to pick up things from Florida? It's further south, right?
If that little, I'm thinking of the kind of dismissive he's trying to get out of conversation thing that I'm just kind of like shaking his head and backing away. Him just doing that through an entirety of them trying to present what's going on. He's like, nope.
Through the boogeyman stories.
Yeah.
I can see him doing that.
Yeah. No. And then getting on the bike and pop.
Yeah, he could be the final antagonist. We don't know. Tell me your overall feeling of the real 8th episode.
Regular listeners will know last week that we binged to catch up.
That's right, you did.
What a rewarding show to inhale. And we were glad to wait, happy when it arrived. But, man, 30 minutes, it just doesn't feel like enough. Mm-hmm. And it's not an issue that I have with the episode or the show. It's just, this was one of the shorter entries so far.
Pretty short.
It only by like maybe a couple 4 minutes, something like that. But I do think you felt that a little bit when compared to the others, and that would be my only gripe. But the gripe is not enough of a good thing. You know what I mean? So it's not a real gripe.
Yeah. I thought it was a fantastic episode. I thought it faced some issues without lingering too long on anyone, and was definitely gripping from start to finish. I thought it was well directed too. I noted that, something I don't usually pay attention to, but I thought that this one had great direction.
Mm-hmm. I'll say broadly too, something that I texted you and Donovan about, that we in our house binged all of Widow's Bay up until this most recent episode. We finished Hacks, which I am here to report landed the plane beautifully.
Right. I mean, up in the air last week, so to speak.
Just as well as any show has with respect to its overall run. I thought it was so good.
That's good news.
I am willing to debate this with anyone who maybe has other feelings. I can see how
Donovan catches up maybe next week. That's something you guys can bring up for sure.
But any listener who thinks that they didn't, I would be interested to hear their take as well.
Is it a finale that people would be divided on?
I could see people having a gripe with it, for sure. It was a show that didn't always front the big questions, the big issues, but it becomes very, we always jokingly call things serious literature with a capital S and a capital L. Mm-hmm. Last episode suddenly became like serious literature while staying true to itself. So it was, I try not to say too much and give it away, but it was very good. All of that to say, watching Widow's Bay, watching Hacks, and then going and revisiting the last few Euphorias, you just realize how good, you were talking about how good the directing was on this most recent Widow's Bay, how good the writing and directing on Hacks and Widow's Bay are in comparison to something like Euphoria, just to reinforce that we are really living through a golden age if we pick the right spots here in television. And the Widow's Bay is, you can think, oh, this is a Monster of the Week kind of show. But I think, and even I'm sure we'll get into it with this one, they're doing so much more with character development, storytelling, saying things about family, friends, all of this stuff that is working on a deep level that I think you could take for granted how good it is.
And I think I do. In fact, I don't know if I said this last week, but I thought it. I realized how good the show was when I started itching for it around Monday, Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And I realized, it's not out yet. it doesn't come out here until Wednesday.
Let me tell you, I thought it came out on Tuesday, and my week
too.
really got busy both day and night starting Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
That was waking up and checking on Tuesday. That wasn't fun.
And it may drop around 3 in the morning on Tuesday or something weird. Because I've seen it said that it airs on Tuesday, but it doesn't. Not for me. Not in those hours.
Yeah.
Speaking of hours, speaking of less than an hour, how about 30 seconds? We'll take a 30-second break. And on the other side, we'll talk about this 8th episode in depth. So if you've seen it, you can stick around. Please do. Or if you haven't, just come back. Many interviews can ramble. Or maybe the host asks the same questions you've all heard answered. Not with short takes. Not only does Short Takes have the guests you want to know more about, but also the summer series manages to go in depth with just 4 questions. Back again this summer, Short Takes will air new episodes each Friday on the YouTube channel for the Alabama Take. Click the link in the show notes to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you'll know exactly when each episode of Short Takes premieres. Okay, let's get back into things with spoilers. Spoilers, which means we're going to talk about Your Baggage. That's the title of episode 8 of Widow's Bay.
Scared me there for a second.
Why is that?
We're going to talk about your baggage.
Yeah, it's what...
In public? Oh, God.
Here we go. Let's unpack this. We're just talking about Widow's Bay. Not anyone else's baggage, just your baggage from Widow's Bay. Once more, the past is back. In Your Baggage, though, it starts with, and even lingers throughout the episode, so many of them, I guess our 3 main characters now, who've developed into the main characters, are trying to put their past away, especially these pictures, which I found interesting. Wick brings his folded up photograph to his old high school sweetheart, Jerry, and he's interrupted by her husband. Tom and Evan look at photos of Tom's deceased wife as they get to the truth, and they're even interrupted by Wick later. And then there's Patricia, and she has a quick glance through a yearbook, but her van alarm goes off because the boogeyman is back. So I thought that was an interesting motif of using pictures to try to settle the past and move on from it.
This is only kind of related to that, but, we talked about the world building of this island.
Yeah.
The convenient, there's no cell phone coverage, so no one has a cell phone.
Yeah.
There's no cell phone, so there's still... Now, a lot of these physical pictures make sense because they're of an age to have existed, but...
They're too old, yeah.
Tom's wife, presumably, it wasn't that long ago that he would have had a 16, 17-year-old son in terms of technology. So to have, a physical box of pictures...
Yeah.
Feels like a rare thing.
Yeah, it does.
Gives the show a timeless quality as well.
That's true, yeah. I think it helps, too. That timeless quality. And then the episode also combines the future. Got Tom and Evan planning a Boston trip. Wick seems to want more or less of a future with Jerry. I'm not sure what he was exactly going to say. And then the sheriff admits his wife is pregnant. That's definitely the future. There's nothing more than the future, capital T and capital F, than we're about to have a baby. So it's a fascinating look at the past and where we're going to go from there. Let's jump off from that and go somewhere. Do you think that Tom's was too easily forgiven, or was it that he kind of sort of wasn't lying? He was only half lying.
Meaning his son forgave him?
With his son forgiving him and what happened to his wife, that she didn't die in childbirth, but every sense of who she was gone after it.
I think we've seen moments where his son is a good kid, right? Who...
This episode definitely, and here and there, yeah.
He misbehaves.
With his friends, he seems like an okay cat.
Yeah. He's yelled at Tom, and you have as Donovan pointed out a few episodes, the just normal teenage stuff.
He's not.
But also running up against your dad isn't being inflexible because he's being an authoritarian. He's inflexible because he's trying to keep you alive. Mm-hmm. even little moments like when he runs into the sheriff and he, kind of has that understanding conversation and that funny exchange. Anyway, he seems like an emotionally intelligent enough kid to understand that there were things that up until this point in his life, a dad would not have told him. Yeah. Possibly even mature enough to understand I would have done the same thing.
And maybe there's a comprehension that he was going to tell me this.
Yeah.
It's just not been the right time.
Well, and here's the baseball tickets. We're going to Boston this weekend.
Probably helped.
I don't mean that in like here's a carrot on a stick, kind of like a gift to win you over way. Like, this marks the beginning of a new chapter of a thing that you didn't even intellectually know, but could clearly feel. Why am I locked on this island? There must be a reason. I don't just think it's because we never go anywhere because of whatever reason. Tom really believes that the curse has been lifted, so he's behaving as if a curse has been lifted. He's portraying that it's falling off of him, right? That energy is there, and his son can probably feel that.
Yeah, that's a good point. He's more joyous, and maybe that's contagious.
I think so, and I'm interested to see how forthcoming he's going to be with him about. We see these characters beginning to discuss. Patricia at the hospital with the sheriff. She says, "You have to leave. You have to leave right now." They're closer than ever to discussing it outside of these circles that have been established that are talking about all of this supernatural stuff. Wick going at the end and saying, "It's not over."
Yeah.
Evan sitting in the other room, right? He's probably about to get roped into this whole...
That's a good point. Let's hope so, because I think he could be an interesting addition.
Well, especially because he's very likely directly descended from the guy that they just turned to dust, right?
He could be.
That's the big theory.
I didn't realize that, but it makes a lot of sense.
Well, I think you also just run into what we talked about last week. If you leave people isolated on an island for long enough, eventually isn't everybody probably descended from?
Yeah, it's a Adam and Eve kind of tale there. It does make sense that we haven't seen the sheriff's wife yet. They held on to that so that they could reveal she's pregnant. That's been hinted at, though. All her requests from...
The ice cream, yeah.
I think that was funny now in hindsight.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Those were good little Easter eggs. I also had a moment... We're going to get to what was both a frightening but then hilarious montage of Patricia going with the body that is present at the end. But when you think that she's unwilling to believe that this thing has been destroyed, and then she sees a pregnant woman who she didn't know was pregnant. I had this moment of like, wait, was she pregnant the other day? Did she just, like, has some like reality slip happened and now this evil entity is about to you know what I mean? Like, is there some cyclical thing going on here?
Yeah.
Which that's not it. But I did have a brief second. But no, I don't think so. Yeah. I think that she's been pregnant the whole time. But the show is asking you to think about how many generations have faced the same decision and just not broken the cycle, right? Mm-hmm. Like we talked last week about how the first time that you see that subterranean area, it is more modern. And then when you see it in that flashback episode, it's in its initial stages. So just to drive home that like these patterns keep reinforcing themselves.
Yeah, like you said, a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the cycles that hasn't been broken is that of women not being believed, it seems. That's like a part of this story. I know this was kind of pointed out in Jen Chaney's Vulture recap this week, how once again it's when it comes to Patricia and the boogeyman, it's a lot of believe the woman who's been assaulted, attacked. And here she says that the boogeyman being kind of a slow, dumb attacker is symbolic of even slow, dumb men get away with things because they're men. I thought that was a really good take on it. And that's just one of the cycles that seems to be repeating on the island and elsewhere.
Yeah. Absolutely. And even her biggest antagonists are her peer group, right?
Mm-hmm.
That infects so completely the idea of doubting her. Because there is an element of just like Mean Girl
Oh, yeah.
kind of thing, but are they also saying something? I don't know. That's an interesting read.
It is an interesting read, and I think it's a good read.
Yeah.
A valid read, I guess we would call it in the arts. Patricia and the sheriff have to be tired of seeing one another. They have to be at the point where they're thinking, every time I see you, it's something.
I think a big picture laugh that the show could provide is if you just charted Patricia's week.
I know.
You know, because we laughed about that last week, like when she steals the car and they're talking. He's like, you can't go. I have to take you in for a statement about all those people you almost drowned last night. Like, what were you doing? And now this is the next day, right? Mm-hmm. That she gets into this. How are they awake right now? I've had a long few days and I am exhausted. So I don't know how they're doing it.
It's possible you would be running on fumes. Well, with Tom, he slept.
He did.
You know, that was one of the big revelations of this episode was I've been asleep for a certain amount of time, passed out from the high of the mushroom, right? It just crashes you out sometimes.
Of course, there's adrenaline flowing through the rest of them too, so.
Yeah. Wick does come to the door, says it's not over. So it's not so much Richard Warren, it's just the island itself, right? Isn't that what we're supposed to think now? Like getting rid of Richard Warren, he was only a pawn for the island.
That's what he was arguing, right? It's like, I had to do this to satiate this evil or this whatever presence that's here.
So maybe their confidence was ill-founded last week and at the beginning of this episode.
I mean, that's the thing with, I suppose you can do it in a movie too if you look down at your watch and you're like, well, it's been an hour and 10 minutes. I don't think they've really solved this problem. Yeah, you know, like right. They didn't solve the problem in episode 7, but they did need that false victory, I think. And it does feel like a show where the monster of the week thing is like a surface level representation of what's going on, that they're going to have to confront something bigger.
Yeah.
I mean, they already have in a lot of ways because all along you're thinking this show is leading, say, like Tom and his son to have serious conversations. That's coming as a part of the circumstances of all of this. And I think that the monster, whatever it turns out to be, will also be a similar kind of overarching thing.
Mm-hmm. There's still the painting with the kid drowning, seemingly drowning, who might have jumped off the boat from...
Not addressed this week.
It's not addressed, that's right. They're going to leave that to your memory or to the recap when the show begins. They'll bring it up, I'm sure, or show you it one more time.
Well, I mean, that seemed like the crucial element coming out of last week.
It did.
Right, that we're going to keep tracking the lineage here, and that's going to play a large role.
Yeah. And it was probably a child from when Betty Gilpin's character got to escape. They put the kids on the boat there with her. It's got to be one of those.
Yeah.
Just to touch on Stephen Root, I thought that he did sadness really realistically. For a guy, it's quick, it's sudden, and it's understood and pushed down, pushed away. He still has a thing for Jerry. And he's someone to pity now that he didn't get to tell her what happened in the past. And I don't know where he was going to go with it. I don't know if he was going to say, this is what happened, let you and I, become more than friends, or this is what happened, goodbye for forever or whatever.
It seemed to me like he just wanted to come clean.
Yeah, just wanted to say,
some closure.
This is what happened to your brother and I feel horrible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
do that too.
The husband, those are the versions of two people that are still very much in their older persons, but like they were almost like teenagers again when they're talking. And that version of her, it's not long gone, but the husband comes back and it's like, oh no, this is reality,
Mm-hmm. That was a funny bit that you mentioned where Patricia maintaining a gun to the boogeyman's head until she sees that he's cremated. But what made it so funny is that she plays it as O'Flynn plays it with a polite soft-spokenness. Like, are you sure he's dead? Thank you. And but yet she's holding a shotgun.
Is there another way out? Because, I mean, when they flash to her in the ambulance, though, you know, you start going through and you're like, this is silly. But, I mean, the sheriff, the guy who should tell her you can't walk around with a shotgun, is hurt. And the medics probably don't care because one of their own had their throat slashed a half hour ago. So
yeah. I gasped when the sheriff got cut. I thought, whoa.
You know, when they started walking towards the gas station and he's in there, I thought, oh, he's only a few days from retirement or, you know, leaving the island. But with the classic, like, well, of course he's about to get slashed.
Patricia had another great moment. She had a lot of great ones in this one, but her tasering the Beachy Book Club attendee, and she yelled, "She's the fucking worst." So
I mean, she is. Do you notice what they were reading? The Night Always Comes, that Willie Vlaughton. Did you read that?
No, I didn't.
Novel?
Say more about that.
I read it, and I'm going to be honest, I had to make sure that I had the right thing. I'll read you it only came out in 2021, so certainly a choice to put it in here. Yeah. The Night Always Comes is a 2021 novel by Willie Vlaughton about Lynette, a young woman in Portland trying to buy the house she rents with her mother and brother, but her plans are derailed when her mother spends the down payment, forcing Lynette on a desperate 2-day odyssey through a gentrifying city to find the money, confronting hustlers and her own past in a search for security.
And you read that?
I did. I think a buddy gave it to me, and he had a copy too. We kind of read it together.
Was it good?
But it's been yeah.
So what do you think that points to?
I don't know. I just thought it was a strange for who these women have shown themselves to be.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like probably really just there to drink the wine.
Right.
And hang out, which great, you know.
I'm thinking it's an intense book.
Yeah. It's just an odd choice
It is.
in that scenario.
Yeah. I'll jump back to Jen Chaney's Vulture recap. One thing she pointed out is funny, which is amazing because I found it scary. And this is another moment of great direction, I thought, was the camera was stationary and Patricia runs off a porch because she can't find help there. And it stays put, and you know the boogeyman's coming. And I just kept thinking he would just pass by normally, like along the street, but he passes by right in front of the camera. Chaney calls this funny, and I thought it was horrifying. He's like, geez, he's that close.
There were some funny camera gags. And just her running, and you think about like that, there's like theoreticals that come out, like there's a snail that's always chasing you, and you'll die if it catches up to you. And it's always going, but you're making money so long as you can outpace it. What's your plan? Yeah. It's like, well, you have a plan, but the idea of a relentless pursuit, like no matter what you do, there's something on your heels, is even when he's walking slow, it's like, this is terrifying.
Yeah.
And you're on an island. You're like hyper aware that there is a limit. You know, they say, can you establish a perimeter? This is an early on joke. It's like, well, it's an island. So, yes, we do have a perimeter set up. There's only so far she can go. Even the window thing was scary, but also kind of hilarious.
It's kind of funny.
Because they don't show him go through, or they pan away in some way, and all of a sudden he just is flying out the window.
Yeah.
But also interesting that he was in this house full of people.
Yes.
And is not interested in them.
Patricia's the leftover for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, which makes it scary as well. I'm a sucker for slasher kind of things where they have the guy in the room and nobody knows it but maybe one person. And, you know, you could see it upstairs and everybody's down. I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. It's kind of creepy as hell. That's what I've got on episode 8. What about you? Anything we didn't touch on?
You know, I was surprised that they didn't revisit the painting.
Yeah.
And that they kind of put the overarching thing on pause. How many episodes are we dealing with this season?
In total. We got 2 more.
See, I'm surprised. I would have thought episode 8 would have gone a little bit more into the overall mythos and how that's going to wrap up. And it did pivot back to a monster of the week kind of thing.
A little bit, yeah. Well, yeah, not a little bit, but yes.
One that they'd been building up all along.
That's true. It had a little bit of a through line. And I even predicted that it would be, wrongly predicted that it would be the last thing they'd have to deal with, but it wasn't.
No, I think they got to go back to the whatever's happening in the chair underground with the portal
and
right
the painting. And is that painting symbolic of Evan having to jump off?
Like, you think that's coming?
Yeah. It's foreshadowing Evan that's going to have to jump off to survive, trying to leave the island.
I mean, do you think they're going to try to... That is an interesting stake to put. Like, we're trying to go to Boston to this Red Sox game at the end of the week. Mm-hmm. But once Wick comes back and he tells him it's not over, Tom won't
try to leave, will he? Yeah.
Right, surely. Yeah. Early on, Tom would have been dismissive of that, possibly.
Yeah.
Well, no, he wouldn't have been, because he wouldn't have tried to take Evan, because he believed in all of the stuff all along.
Yeah, he definitely would have, even if he didn't believe it, he wasn't going to chance his son, I think, is probably the way to think about it.
Yeah. So it is setting up like you have to wonder how his son is going to react to suddenly discovering all of this stuff that we have now had 8 episodes to acclimate to.
That's true.
As has his dad. Is he going to join the fight and be an important part of it in some way?
I really hope so. I think he's a pretty well played character.
And I think there's some, like, Reddit really loves Rosemary, the funny City Hall employee.
Is that the oldest lady at the City Hall who doesn't leave, doesn't stay past 3 or whatever?
Not her, the other one that suggests that Patricia takes off her hat.
Played by Dale Dickey, I think the actress's name is. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got to have a little bit more going on.
She knows what's happening, I think. And I'm interested to see if some characters like that come in and say, let's deal with this once and for all. I know this. Like, there's a lot of puzzle pieces still to gather from around the island.
Right.
I've talked about the world building of the island every time that we've discussed this. I'll do it again. Mm-hmm. Patricia running for as long as she ran through these different neighborhoods. And it's like, how big is this island?
And the
answer
big,
is,
right?
It's as big as they need it to be per episode, which I love.
Yeah. You bringing up Rosemary reminds me to ask you this last question. When Patricia gets her food home and it's the wrong order, did it hit you that it was Kathy who had done her order?
It had to be, right?
That's what I think. That's like a tucked in joke there that it was her that put the order together. It's why it's not done correctly.
Yeah, and everything's just a little, and of course it would happen to Patricia.
Oh, right, there's that too.
I tried to watch this episode and got interrupted and then got super busy through the end of the week, but had seen just that scene and then went back and just started from the beginning. So I saw that scene twice, and both times when she calls, because I hate complaining in customer service situations, but sometimes when I mentally go through it, I think what she is trying to say on that answering machine message, I don't want anybody to get in trouble.
I just want them to know.
I just want them to know so that maybe they can do a better job in the future. But you don't have to replace my food. It's okay. I just want you to know.
That is me on those phone calls. Yeah.
Deeply relatable.
Yeah, I thought that was funny too, and I felt it. Well, that's it for us this week, I think. Next week, more Widow's Bay, maybe Cape Fear, maybe Little Hacks. We'll see. It's quite possible. Follow us on social media, albeit I'm not crazy about it, but we at least try to give you a heads up on what we'll be covering so you can play along at home. That's going to be it for us. I'm always appreciative of Adam and Donovan's time when Donovan's here too. But for Adam and Donovan, I'm Blaine, and y'all remember to have a taser and some petrol handy if ever you need. Have a nice week.